What's up, my beautiful people? We are in the war room today. Thank you for tuning in. It's a historic day here because Joe Biden has stepped down from his reelection. He's not stepped down from office, but he has stepped out of his reelection bid, and he has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. This will be the first time in this nation's history that we will have a Black South Asian woman as our presidential nominee, should she make it through the DNC convention. Because, as we know, as Melissa just pointed out to me, which I cannot believe, is that Barack Obama has not endorsed her yet.
Nope.
So let's just jump right into it. We are going to get back to boxing conversation next week. There were some great fights this weekend, but this battle that we're about to take on right now, it's the United States, the new America versus old America. That is the battle. Okay, so absolutely, we need to talk about this. We're gonna, Melissa, let's just jump into this. What's your first thought when you heard that Biden had stepped aside?
I felt terribly sad
Yeah,
because
I was
I
hurt.
really think he's a good president.
Right,
He's the best that I've had across my lifetime, and I'm no spring chicken. I mean, my
right.
first
Well, none of
election was
us are spring chicken.
1972 for McGovern. Hello.
What? You voted
I,
in 1972?
I did. I was 18. I voted in 72. It was my first election, and it was for McGovern. And we
Wow.
lost, to Nixon. So
Ah,
it wasn't until Carter was elected in 76 that that was the first time I actually was able to vote for a Democrat that won. And then it wasn't again until 92 when Clinton came in, 96 for Clinton, even though I was pissed at him because of, the intern. And then
right.
there was Obama in 2008. I was crying online. I stayed online for 3 hours with my family. I have photos of me and his with Jed waiting online to vote for Obama. And I cried and cried and cried my heart out when he won. He won in 2012. Then, well, we know who we got in
Right.
2016, and then Joe Biden in 2020 with his running mate Kamala Harris, who I actually was really interested in as a candidate for president because I really wanted a woman in 26 because that Hillary shit was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here we are. Kamala Harris was endorsed. Biden issued his letter. Within 20 minutes, he endorsed her online, on Twitter, and on Threads, and anywhere he could find it. A really clear endorsement, and there are many people who have come forward from the Democratic Party who have followed suit, but there are also some notable absences, such as Barack Obama. Nancy Pelosi has not endorsed her. When Hakeem Jeffrey, as of our recording on 7 o'clock at night on Sunday, the 21st of July, Hakeem Jeffries was, he's Brooklyn. He's in our hearts here. He, thanked Joe Biden, but he has not yet come out to endorse Kamala Harris. So there's a lot to go here. And as you point out, she's Black, she's South Asian. Her parents were immigrants, so she's first generation in America.
Right.
She has lived in Canada. She's a prosecutor from California. So there's a lot to unpack about her. And you got all these people saying, well, she's got to prove herself. Hell, she's been doing the dang job of VP for 3.5 years. So I don't get what that's about. And as you say, new world, old world. New world is, yes, a Black woman.
Yes.
Who's educated, who's an attorney, who's been in office for years, but has the special sauce of a really interesting background of her parents from Jamaica and South Asia, but growing up in America.
Right.
In the same way that, you have Barack Obama, whose mom was from Kansas, grew up in Hawaii with her family. His dad was from Kenya. I mean, so he lived in Indonesia as a boy. So interesting parallels there, but very different people. I'll also
Absolutely.
add Kamala Harris is also married to a Jewish man.
Right.
So she's got a lot going on
She's
there.
got a lot going on.
She went to a historically black college. Okay. She made that
Howard.
Yeah, she went to Howard. I
Great
mean,
one.
this would be the first, not all of these first,
Right.
historically black college graduate to run for office as president. I mean, I think of this and I think of Shirley Chisholm, because that's my city. That was 72. I remember all of that. I remember her in 68. So it's extremely powerful for me personally to see this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very aware of the hatred coming towards her in a
Yes.
political environment where there is zero civility left. We have no sense of civility at all in this country. We have lost our thread of our understanding of, what the things we learned, those of us who actually had civics in school, which no
Right.
kid does
They don't even
today,
teach civics anymore, right?
where you learn about the three sections of government and how it's the checks and balances. Well, we know we're out of balance.
Right.
So there is so much that is riding on this. And when you talk about new world, old world, you're talking about people who want to take women back to before they had the right to vote
Yes.
in the
As
19th
property.
Amendment. You're talking about people that want to rid a historical birthright citizenship. You're talking about ending marriage. The concept of a family that is nothing other than one man, one woman at home
Right.
taking care of their kids. And too bad if she's getting the shit kicked out of her every day. No fault divorce these people want to get rid of. They want to get rid of health care. President Biden just passed the most historic veterans legislation that you can possibly imagine. Now, I have a little insight into this because my personal life, I have a husband with dementia. I'm trying to get him VA benefits. I was shocked to learn how much had really changed
Yes.
when the new VA bill was enacted in March. So many more opportunities to receive benefits that are life altering. Even if he has not qualified for anything, the health care he can get is miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
Just the cost of drugs, $5 or $8 or $13. That's the cap. So these are the things that these people, the folks from old world want to roll back. They want to roll us back, not to before Roosevelt, but we're not talking about Franklin Roosevelt. We're talking about Theodore Roosevelt.
Wow.
Okay? Because Theodore Roosevelt was a progressive president, even though he was a Republican, but he had progressive instincts. And then by the time FDR came in, with folks like Perkins as his Secretary of Labor, who had been instrumental in creating all the labor laws in New York State after the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. And this is some deep history here, which basically changed the rules so that you suddenly had laws in terms of how you had fire laws in buildings, and you had laws on what you could and could not have in a factory. And you had laws that were enacted in New York State that said the number of hours women could work, the number of hours men could work, the number of hours children could work, the ending child labor, support for unions. That's all enacted in New York State with Al Smith as governor. Okay, so these are historic and really important things that informed the New Deal in terms of the things that we enacted in the New Deal: labor protections, Social Security, unemployment,
Child
okay,
labor laws.
child labor. The thing that he didn't get to do was health care, Medicare. That came with LBJ. So for all the things that we wrap LBJ for as president because of the Vietnam War, you look on the other side of the balance sheet. You have the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Immigration Act of 1965, which is why Kamala Harris's parents were able to come here and become who they were in America and made it possible for her to be here in America. That was pivotal to that. So you have all of that. You have Medicare. You have Medicaid. This is Johnson.
Mm.
The next significant president in terms of life-altering legislation is who? Joe Biden. Okay. So yes, we have a Affordable Care Act under Obama, hugely important, but all the rest is Biden.
Biden got it done.
Biden got it done.
That's right.
And you have Kamala Harris, who has been mentored by him for 3.5 years. And I cannot think of a better person poised in this position to become president, because she has seen it all. She has been there in lockstep every step of the way for 3.5 years. She deserves this.
Well, as the great philosopher Lawrence Peterborough once said, it ain't over till it's over.
Yep.
And the fact is, I mean, I was born during the Truman administration, the oldest one here. And Joe Biden has easily been the most pro-working class, anti-racist, progressive president, anti-sexist, and you could add the whole list on pro-LGBTQ president in my lifetime. And, you know, you can make it an historical comparison. There's a very different period under FDR, whether he or FDR was more progressive. You know, that depends. That's sort of a relative historical question. But the fact is, certainly in my lifetime and in our lifetimes, but there were elements in the Democratic Party that didn't like that progressive type platform that he had been fighting for and trying to implement all along. You got to look at what the Democratic Party is and what the party structures in the United States. It's very different than in many other democracies where there's a social democratic party that has, or used to have anyway, connections to the direct connections to the unions. It's a little different in the United States. The Democratic Party of these days, at least since the Dixiecrats left under LBJ and went to Nixon in the 60s, is an amalgam. It has a wing of sort of moderate to liberal finance capitalists, and it also has those, if there were a large popular social democratic party in the United States, I'm not talking about some fringe small left group or further left group, but if there were something like the British Labour Party or the Socialist Party of France or the SPD in Germany, which is kind of moderate, if there was something like that, those people are in the Democratic Party. And there's been that tension between those two major wings. And so when Biden stumbled and showed his weaknesses in the debate with Trump, they pounced on it and they were relentless. Every day there were article after article, the New York Times, Washington Post, politicians speaking against him. And Biden gave a number of interviews. He seemed to do a little better, but he would make some gaffes and really wouldn't reassure people that at 81 years old, he was capable of serving really would have been another 4.5 years if he were reelected. And so they pounced on that and they try to push him out. And he resisted as long as he could. I think, and this is speculation, because I can only agree with and believe so much that I see in the mainstream media. When he got COVID a few days ago, I really think that was a turning point, because up to the end of Friday, he was adamant to everybody, I'm not going anywhere. I'm running. And then, according to the news reports I read on Saturday, he called a couple of his most trusted advisors, like 2 or 3 of them, didn't tell his staff, said, let's put together a statement that I'm withdrawing from the race. And according to the articles that I read, he only told Kamala Harris about this on Sunday afternoon, or I forget, it was the morning or afternoon, but it was shortly before he put out his statement, which, by the way, was put out on Twitter. So you want to know a reason to stay on Twitter with all the garbage? There's another reason. And he only told his staff, according to this article, assuming it's true, 1 minute before he publicly posted it. And then he told them that in a video call, and then he posted it. And then shortly thereafter, I don't know whether exactly the time frame, but very short, he didn't name who he wanted to run instead of him. Very shortly thereafter, they put out another statement very clearly saying he's endorsing Kamala Harris to run for president, and he wants everybody else to do that. Right after that, a number of important people in the Democratic Party not only issued they all issued statements. Thank you. You've done a great job. All this stuff. But some of them said, yeah, we're for Kamala. And of course, she put that out, her own statement out. But then the Clintons put out a statement and Jim Clyburn put out a statement. Other people put out statements, did not mention Kamala Harris. It would have been quite easy to do, because while it is a surprise, this happened today on a Sunday afternoon. It's not like something like this completely came out of the blue. People have been talking about this for, several weeks. So, and they've had opinions beforehand too. And these are professional political people, have had to have had opinions on what their options were if Biden pulled out. And so this silence is very deafening. And if they try anything to keep Kamala Harris, who is, by the way, the only declared candidate now, as we talk, there's nobody else. There may be some, cuckoos who are trying to, get a little publicity, but there's nobody else. Newsom, Whitmer, Shapiro, Bashir, and anyone else you could name. None of these people have said, yeah, I want to run. So if this other faction of the Democratic Party tries to deny Kamala Harris the nomination for president, stands in the way, or tries to push somebody else, there is going to be hell to pay.
Oh, yeah.
In the Democratic Party at an extremely critical time, when the Republicans clearly are pushing not a conservative agenda, but a fascist agenda with Project 2025. They supported overturning elections, insurrections, getting rid of every gain, as Melissa said, for over 100 years. And the Democrats have to stand united. And if they want to have this group wants to have a civil war at this moment in the Democratic Party, it's going to be the American people that are going to pay the price for that. So I think it's very important for people to come together, support Kamala Harris. As we record this, she is not named any favorite for vice president. We assume it's going to be a white male to, quote, balance the ticket. Also, they want to balance it regionally. So there have been a whole number of names thrown out there. It can't be Newsom, by the way, by law,
No,
because
because
she's from California
both of them
still,
from Cali, yeah.
and they're both from California. You can't, I believe you
Right.
can't have two people from the same state
No,
run for president and vice president.
no,
I don't think Newsom would want it, but
yeah.
whoever she picks, there are a whole bunch of names thrown out there. I
Buttigieg.
think we're going to have to unify behind that person too. And in the time we have left, fight like hell, do something unprecedented in American history. The odds are not greatly in our favor for this, but make the case using Trump's own words, the words of Project 2025, and all these other people, throw them back at them, because virtually everything in Project 2025 is opposed by the vast majority of the American people.
Right.
Make it a race on issues. And Biden's interview with NBC's Lester Holt, when Holt was asking him all this crap, he ended it by saying, next time, let's talk about the issues, about the policies, huh? I mean, what are you supposed to talk about? The sky, baseball, boxing? Come on. So they have to make this about the issues, and they're starting to do it. And I think this is something that could be done. And I'd like to see the Democrats retain the Senate and control the House and put Kamala Harris in as president, and may she serve for 8 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
one thing interesting, there have been people that have been coming out on Twitter all day in support of her, different senators, different my congressman, New York 10,
Oh,
Dan
good.
Goldman, thank you. But the Nikki Haley voters
Did he
announced
support Kamala?
Yeah, he
Yes.
came out today in support of her on Twitter. And the Nikki Haley voters pack announces support for Kamala Harris.
What?
All right.
All
So
right.
yeah, there are people that definitely coming through, Senator Tammy Duckworth, I mean, if you go
Yeah.
through Twitter, you will find on social media quite a number, but the folks who are missing in terms of endorsing Kamala are what's interesting, and what's really happening behind the scenes in terms of the donors who really push to get Biden out. We'll see that. I will say this: I had tuned into MSNBC.
Ooh.
The worst part was Katie Tur, who's such a tool. But Rachel came on and she was giddy. She was absolutely giddy, going, wow, we're going to have our first woman president.
Right,
oh
of course.
God, it's going to
Yeah.
be Kamala Harris. Oh, wow, that's so great. And then,
Oh, yeah.
that tool, dirty crowd. Ugh, Katie Tur, please give me
Oh,
a break.
no, there's a lot of people that wanted Biden to step aside, but first of all, like I told some of my Stonewall Democrats, because I was like, this is the worst fucking strategy ever to have this
Yeah.
man, because of a debate performance, try to step aside when he's been the most productive candidate. He can kick Trump's ass for sure, no, without a doubt, with his eyes closed and stuttering. But you guys are out here, and I'm like, I have to have faith in white Americans that they are going to vote for a brown woman. You are asking me to like really hold that faith out there. And I just, we're going to see, right?
We're going to see, but you got folks like, Joshua, the governor of Pennsylvania,
Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro. He just made a hugely strong
Right.
statement. He's on the short list in terms of the pundits anyway.
As VP?
As a VP.
Who do you think should be VP? Who would be your pick?
If it were my pick, I'd say Pete, but
Buttigieg.
But I don't think they're going to go for well, you never know. Look, black South Asian American woman and a gay guy, but
right.
Why not?
That's a one hell of a ticket.
Probably based on internal polling.
Yeah, but they're looking at Shapiro, looking at Bashir. Mark Kelly's name has been coming up from Arizona. Look, his wife is Gabby Gifford. She she was the last person, before Nancy Pelosi who survived an attempted assassination, has left her, permanently disabled.
Right.
So anyway, there folks like that are in the mix.
Well, I'm kind of
Whitmer,
going.
although she says
No,
she
this
has
not
a
gonna be two
statement,
women. No. Sorry.
but she has a statement saying, my job is to support the people of Michigan. So
right. No, we
she's
can't.
saying no, in her statement, although she didn't come out for Harris in that statement, but.
Well, it's bad enough we're going to have misogynoir on steroids, but
Yeah.
and we got to balance the ticket with a white man. So I'm going to go with Admiral William McRaven because he was.
Oh, that's who Malcolm Nance is hot on.
Yeah,
him too.
I like that's
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
got it from. Malcolm
Nance is
like,
real hot on
that's
him.
right. That's right. He'd make a great VP. And he hasn't been in the fray already.
Right,
So
right. No, yeah.
I like him.
Malcolm
And he's
Nance
from
is all over
Texas.
him.
And he's from Texas.
And he's from Texas, which if he were on the ticket would really help the Senate there, get rid of Ted Cruz there.
Absolutely.
Mofo.
Absolutely. So that would be a good move.
Yeah,
I would sign off on that.
I'm gonna sign off on it. Just
anything. We sign it. Exactly.
Done.
It is not about who's at the top of the ticket. We're voting for democracy.
Listen, I'm doing a daily thread. I started it on day 114. It's now 107 days to go.
Oh my gosh.
Every day I'm doing a thread. 107, tomorrow's 106, and 105, and highlighting something. A lot of it's been about Project 2025.
All right.
The horrific, I try to highlight certain things, like the fact that they want to get rid of the DOE, but the one thing they do want to do is require that the armed services to come into public schools to recruit soldiers. Now, what the hell is that about? They want to go to war too? I mean,
they have to keep the machine going. You got to keep the machine going.
I mean, there's some stuff in there that is frightening.
They want to get rid of the FDIC. Did you see that?
Yes, they want to get rid of that because they want to also overturn Posse Comitatus and make it all Army. So that's why they need these people, because they're going to have cops from the Army. Listen, there's a line in there about reorganizing ICE, and they want funding for they want money to be able to have 100,000 beds a day for detention.
They passed out mass deportation now.
I know.
Posters at the convention. Their Republican
these
convention.
but it's in 2025 is the point. It's not only did they have these fucking signs,
right?
Which is the most heinous fascist thing I've ever seen in my entire life in the United States on the Republican Party. Are you kidding me?
Right.
But it's in their Project 2025. We need a budget for 100,000 beds a day for detention. Okay, so it's there, right? In their words, in their 900 pages.
Crazy. That is crazy.
Defining, I mean, it. So anyway, I'm doing this every day on Threads, putting out something, one thing a day that you need to do, or things you need to do, or the things you
educate,
need to educate yourself.
Yep.
I've been reposting Molly Jung Fast has been doing these great videos on Project 2025, breaking them down. So I've been posting those on one of my daily threads. I did one yesterday. I did one a few days ago for her first one. This was her second one yesterday. They are really worth watching just to get educated. We have to get educated on the dangers of these people.
That's right.
And I got to tell you, if you need a passport, you better apply for it
now. Exactly.
You need to, don't fuck with yourself here.
Exactly.
You need an exit plan.
That's
because
right.
This is some serious shit. It's very serious.
It is. We're not going to let that traitor piece of shit pedo back in the White House.
Oh my God.
I have full faith and confidence in the voters, and women and young voters. But look, folks, before we go, do you guys have anything else you want to cover? Eddie, you got anything else you want to hit? Want to tell the people where they can find you?
Still on Twitter at NHB News, patreon.com/Eddie Goldman. And when we get back to discussing boxing, we'll have a lot more on that too to come. A lot of important fights coming up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
happened already too.
Absolutely. Good fights this weekend. All right,
Yeah,
Melissa.
good time. Yeah, I'm at
First,
girl. Yeah.
let me just say, where is that? How do I do this? Let me turn that off. I got your book. It came finally. Yay. So I will be reading this all week and we will cover that next time.
Thank you.
Go ahead, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, I'm at Girl Boxing Now, Twitter, Threads, Instagram. My political stuff is on Threads for the most part. Twitter is just pretty much just boxing, although I was all over it today because it's just blowing my mind. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening to us go on this really important rant today, because I got to tell you, this is the first time since LBJ determined that he wasn't going to run in 1968. And then, of course, we had the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, which really threw everything into a thing. And our hope is that the Democratic Party has learned a little something in those 51 years, 50 odd years, so that we don't make the mistakes we made in 68 and just rally behind our ticket with all of the energy we can muster to get rid of the felon once and for all.
The fascist felon.
The fascist felon.
Epstein's buddy.
Epstein's pal.
Yeah, that's his buddy.
Don't get me started, man.
Well, folks, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks, my co-hosts, Melissa and Eddie. This was a wonderful conversation about something very important, which is Project 2025. Like Taraja P. Hinton said, Google that shit.
Yeah, Google that shit is right.
So you guys check us out. I'm still on Twitter at Angry Afro Radio and at Fight Goddess on IG at Fight Goddess 1. And we'll chat with you all next time when we get back to talking about boxing. This has been our political coverage. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time. Peace, love, and let's go, Harris 2020.